Hello and welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Irma and you can find me on Ravelry, Instagram and YouTube as Wolwerkjes, which is also the name of my yarn company. It's just me dyeing yarn and selling it, not a big fancy company, but it's fun to say. Welcome again to everybody, new watchers, old watchers, everybody just welcome in my little space on the internet. This is a place where I talk about the things I make, mainly knitting, and I will just start showing. So first of all, I always start with what I'm wearing, and I'm wearing shawl, which is I think I made this 2 summers back. I think 2 summers back. Maybe last summer. No, not last summer. 2 summers back. So it's an old finished object. And it's a shawl. Really a big one because I love really big shawls and scarves. I don't know why. I just like them. I once had a friend when I was at university. There was a friend of me saying, "Do you even have a neck? Because it's always covered." Just the way I love wearing scarves and shawls. This one is crocheted. I don't know how you call this stitch. Moss stitch maybe. It's just, I didn't use a pattern. It's just the English terms and the US terms are different. So I can't say which is which. So I won't use terms. But you make a stitch and then you make a chain, and then you make a stitch and you make a chain, and the next round you switch them around. So on the spot where there was a stitch you make a chain, and on the place where there was a chain you make a stitch. I don't know if that makes sense for you. I used, I don't know the brand anymore, but I used the gradient cakes you can buy. And I used 2 because I thought one would be too small, and I think one would be okay, then it would have ended here, but just the piece extra is just really nice. It's 100% cotton and I love wrapping this around. It's not getting too hot that fast, it's just nice and comfy to wear, and I just wrap it around and have really long pieces hanging down. That's just the way I like it. And sometimes I just wrap those bits up again to make it a little bit more easy when I'm wearing a coat or something. But this is how I used to wear it. So that's what I'm wearing, and I will show you a finished object. I have 2 finished objects this week, but I can only show one because again I gave something away before I recorded. The teacher of my oldest son is with maternity leave now. She's getting a baby and I wanted to make the baby something, so I made a little crochet doll. And when I was crocheting on it, my son said, "I want one too." And I said, "Okay, I will make you one too. Choose your colors." And he chose these colors. And I made him a little monster. The one for the teacher I can put in a picture is the same pattern, but I used yellow instead of the pink because I wasn't sure if it's gonna be a boy or a girl. And you see my boy picked the pink color, so you never know what colors a child will like in the end. So I made yellow and grey just because I choose those colors. They were nice together. The original pattern has the feet up in the front, so he is sitting down, but my son wanted him to be able to walk, so I put the feet at the bottom. And they're really funny. When you look too long to them, you always start to laugh. The mouth is like a pocket, so you can put things in it, so he can eat things, and he loves it. He's really happy with it. And now my youngest son also wants one, so I have to make yet another one, but I made 2 within 2 weeks and I'm kind of done with it, but I can't say no, you won't get one. So tonight I will start the one for my youngest son. So 2 finished objects. Took a lot of my time, but the one for the teacher I really wanted to finish because I wanted to give it her before she left, and I didn't want my son to wait too long for his, so that's why I made 2 in 2 weeks. I don't have I do have finished objects, but I will show them later. First we go to works in progress, and let me see, I only have 1 work in progress this week because I did the crochet dolls, so I didn't have time for a lot of knitting, but I have knitted on 1 project, and you can guess it's my jumper. It's the jumper from the Laine issue 7, and I will put the name down here because I'm not going to pronounce it, as well as the name of the designer. I will just butcher it, so just leave it there. And I did quite some work on it, because last week I already told you I had finished the back piece, but I also finished the front piece now, and I attached the shoulder seams together. They're done with a... Ooh, I made a mistake. Just put a stitch marker in there. The shoulder seams are done with a 3 needle bind off, which is quite fun to do and quite fast to do. It's not invisible, it's still a seam, which I like, because when you make a sweater with seams, you don't want it to look like a sweater without seams. You have seams, they give structure to your work, and you made an effort to make those seams, and you don't want them to be rough or untidy, but there are seams. You're allowed to show your seams. So this is the shoulder seam, and it's on the other side as well. As you can see, the neckline is still unfinished. When you know the pattern, and I will show a picture of the sweater. Here the sweater will have quite a, not too high, but quite a high neckline, so that one needs to be knit. And I also have to knit the sleeves, but because it's quite an oversized sweater, you can see the sweater almost comes to my elbows, so I only have to knit a really short sleeve, so that's nice. And then I will have to sew it together, seam it together, and then I'm done and I can wear it. And the weather is changing a bit, so I think I will be able to wear it as a jacket as well, like an outdoor coat. It's not a coat, it's a sweater, but it's a jumper, but I think it will be nice to wear outside as an extra layer, and I think it will be warm enough for that quite soon. So that's fun. And I don't have anything on the needles of the sweater now, because the sleeves are knitted flat as well. And I just haven't cast them on yet, so it's just the front and back together. And it's a nice project to to knit on. I know it has a lace detail, but it is a really easy peasy lace piece. It's only a 4-row repeat, and the third and fourth are just purling. So it's nice that you don't have to think when you do the purl stitches. It's just purl all the way across, and then on the knit side there's something happening. But there's just 2 rows you have to remember. And it isn't difficult, it's really easy. So if the lace was keeping you back from knitting this pattern, don't. It's really easy. It really is. And I don't have to look at the pattern at all when I'm knitting. And it's nice TV knitting. It's really easy to remember and easy to see your mistakes and easy to correct your mistakes. So that's really, really fun. So then I'm done with my knitting. Oh, this will be a really short episode. I did do some other things though. It wasn't just crocheting the dolls. I talked about it last week, and you can see I talked about this scrappy bag I made because I don't know why I did this. I wanted to look at some dimensions I had in mind for some bags, and those bags will be in the shop, and I made one of each size now, and they will be all different in the fabrics I use. Those 3 are the same, and I will make all 3 sizes in the same combination of fabrics, but I'm not going to make this particular bag every time. I mean this fabric combination. I will make several fabric combinations, and I will always make them in combinations of 3. So I have 3 sizes I make, and every color combination will be in all the 3 sizes available, and sometimes that will be 6 or 9, and you can go on like that, but it will be always in the 3 as I have in my mind now. And these are the ones I just made. I did it over the last few weeks. I have the small size. They're all drawstring bags, so I won't show them that they can do this with every bag, but they're all drawstring bags, and the small ones have the dark red cord, the medium has grey, and the large one has a green cord. That's for me easy to recognize them. They all have a stand-up bottom. I didn't use any interfacing for these one. Maybe I will make some with interfacing, but I think this fabric was sturdy enough to give the bag a little bit of structure without being plump. So it will be still easy to put it in your bag or in your luggage when you're traveling. So it has a line of piping, and it has blue flowers at the side, and all the bags I am making now have a grey polka dot inside. So this is the small size. I think you can fit a 2-skein project in here, but definitely not 3. Then I have a medium one, and this is around the size I have made as a sample in the scraps, and I can just fit a worsted weight sweater in it. If you're a little bit bigger, or if you're going to knit a bulky size sweater, it won't fit in here. I think it's 4 skeins of worsted max, and I think you can fit in maybe 5 skeins of fingering, but it also depends on what you prefer. If you prefer to have a lot of extra room in your bag, maybe you should go up a size if you want to use more than 4 skeins, because I think that will definitely go well. So this has the same design, the same design elements with the piping and stuff. And the dots in only a little bit bigger, and you can compare them. Like the small one has the same depth, only it's smaller. And then I have one size more, and it's the large size. And the large size has more depth, as you can see. So it's the same width as the medium size, but it has a little bit more depth. And this one will definitely hold a sweater. It's really big, and it has exactly the same design as the others. So that's really fun. And as I said, drawstring, so easy to use. No, not being afraid. You don't have to be afraid of catching your work in the zipper. That's really nice. So these will be in the shop. I'm not sure if I'm going to put them up this week, or if I will wait until I have a few other designs available as well, because it's otherwise I only have one bag of each size, and I don't think that's fair for people who want to have one, that there's just one available. So I think I will make a few more other designs, and maybe you will see the fabrics coming back, but I will put them together a little bit differently. I really like this combination though, and I will post it on Instagram when I will have the update in the shop, and you can find them to buy. So that's a fun thing to say, that they are done. And I'm thinking about things I have to talk about, but I don't think I have that much else to say. I've done quite some things, but it's not really showing in the amount of content I have this week. I do have one thing to say, and that's about a knitting festival here in Holland. A Dutch knitting event, knitting festival. It's we call it Breidagen, which is translated to knitting days, and we have several over the year. And I'm going to attend one just as myself, not as a vendor, in May. And then it will be it's moving around over the country, but then it will be in Amsterdam. It will be a special edition focused around durability and stuff. So there will be a lot of non-superwash yarns. There will be a lot of natural dyeing yarns and those things. I'm not always sure myself about natural dyeing being better for the environment, because it depends on which mordant you use and those things, but that's a whole different story. But it's really a fun combination of different vendors, and it's in a beautiful industrial location, so that will be really fun. And I'm bringing the friend that I just started to learn knitting, and she really likes it. She's going like crazy. She's really good for a beginner, and she hasn't made any mistakes so far, so that's really good, and it's really even what she's doing. So I'm taking her with me to that event, and I'm going to attend a class over there. And if you're not familiar with the design line, this designs of Moonstruck Knits, check them out. The designer of Moonstruck Knits, and I'm just lacking of her name now. She also has a pattern in the Laine magazine. Her name is... oh, how bad, I don't remember. Oh yeah, her name is Natasha Hornby. I should have known. Natasha Hornby, and she is the designer of this beautiful shawl in the Laine magazine of issue 7. And she's going to teach there, and she's doing a class about shawl design and shaping, and I'm quite okay with calculating things. I did a technical study at university, so I'm quite okay with calculating stuff. But when you want to calculate the amount of increases and the way you have to increase for each shawl shape, it takes a lot of brain space, and it's nice when someone else gives his or her version of it and just show you how they are doing. That's a nice way to learn things. So some shapes I know the math and I know the way it should be, but it's nice to see someone else doing it. So that will be nice, and then I can just, I'm doing that already, but then I'm more free to make my own individual style scarves. So that will be really fun to see, and I'm really looking forward to see all the yarn in at the vendor's space. So that will be really nice. It will be the end of May, I think. By head I say 24th and 25th of May, and it's not as big as the events in Edinburgh for example, which is happening right now, but it's just a nice bunch of people coming together and looking at yarn. It's always fun to look at yarn. I do have another work in progress, and I'm just remembering it wasn't at my usual place where I normally put them, so I'm just going to get it. Last week I was telling you I wanted to make the fingerless mitts out of Laine issue 7. I don't know how many times I've already said Laine issue 7, but anyway, I was thinking about those fingerless mitts, but I was already concerned about the yarn I wanted to use, because it was handspun, which is my own handspun, which is more irregular in thickness, and it was way heavier than the yarn the pattern called for, because I didn't look at the pattern before I decided I wanted to knit it. So I was working on that, and after a few rounds I was like, this isn't gonna work, I need to do something else. And I could have chosen to still make the mitts but use different yarn, but I really want to work with this yarn, so I chose to make something else out of the yarn. And I didn't want to make a lot of effort in browsing patterns, because it's really hard to find a pattern, especially for your own handspun. So I was just starting to knit, and I came up with this little shawl. I'm not done yet. I just started here with a few stitches, and I started increasing and changing color, and where I change color I make some eyelets to make the color changing a bit more visible. It's just garter stitch with some eyelets, and in the center I chose to make the increases with yarn over, so you get the eyelets also going down in the middle of the shawl. And yeah, I like working on it. At the edge I am doing a I-cord, which tightens the sides a bit, which makes the sides curve a little, but I don't mind that. It makes it easier to throw it around your neck and keeping it there in that way. So that's okay. And yeah, it's just an easy knit, and I I like it. Maybe I think I will run out of the green a little bit earlier than the brown color because it's a little bit thicker. And I had a little bit less weight, so I will run out of the green earlier than the gray. And maybe I will do like a easy lace or eyelets pattern at the edge, but we will see. That depends on how much I have to work, how much yarn I still have to work with. So we will see, but definitely a work in progress and definitely something I should have thought about. And when I'm talking about handspun, I'm like, oh, I did something else. I did quite a lot of things those 2 weeks, and I will just get it for you. I made my own drop spindle out of some polymer clay I had laying around because I really like to work with polymer clay, only it takes a little bit more time to set up than knitting because I want a clean surface and I don't want to do it on the dining room table. I have to put something in between and you have to bake it and it's a little bit more time consuming to set up and a little bit more time consuming to clean up. And it's something I can only do in the evening hours because it's not doable with children around. When you want to make something nice for yourself and you want to play with them, it's okay. But when you want to make something nice for yourself, it's not easy to have them around. So I made this drop spindle. I normally use top whirls, but I decided to make a bottom whirl. And if I don't like it, I can always change it to a top whirl because I made it myself. But I really like how this is working. It's spinning a little bit more evenly, I think, when it's on the bottom. Maybe a little bit longer. And it's a little bit heavy and that makes the yarn also thinner, I think. So I'm really happy with the result and I really like this dark blue color. I bought this in Norway. I think it's a merino. It wasn't any special yarn, but I really love this dark blue color. So that's something else I did. I made the spindle and I spun on it because I wanted to test it. So another thing I've done, I made more spindles. I'm not going to get them now because they're on the attic 2 stairs up and I'm not, I just don't want to go up now. They're upstairs. I made one quite similar to these and I'm using it to spin some fleece I have laying around. I washed it. And now I'm combing it because there are quite some little pieces of the shirring in the fleece and that's really hard to spin, so I'm combing those out and then I only have the clean quite long fibers to spin with. It gives a more even yarn, which I prefer in the end to work with. So that's that. And yeah, I also made some smaller ones, top whirl and bottom whirl, I think, and I will just figure out what I like more so I can make more if I want to, because I had a spinning wheel I could borrow. I think I talked about this last episode, but I returned it because it was really old and I was afraid to work on it because I was thinking I would break it every time I used it. So I returned them and I only had one spindle in the house, one drop spindle, and it's quite annoying if you want to ply or if you want to make more yarn that you every time you have to clear out your spindle. So then I was reading a book about spinning and they were like, oh, but you can make your own spindle. And I was thinking, oh yeah, I can totally do that. I will just try. So I I did that and I did quite a lot, and the easy part now is that if I want to make a 2-ply out of this, I can just spin 2 spindles full of the blue yarn, blue fiber, and then ply them together on a 3rd spindle. And then I don't have to transfer this to something else and then ply them on the same spindle every time. It's way easier, I think. So we will see how that works out. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this yarn. At first, when I bought these fiber, I bought 2 colors. I bought the dark blue and I bought the light color. I don't know if it will focus. Yes, it will. And I was thinking about using them together, maybe plying them together. And maybe I will, but I really love this dark color on its own. So maybe I will just make something out of the blue, yarn out of the blue and yarn out of the light blue. We will see, but it's really, really nice to work with. So I just have to put them back before my cat finds out I had them at his visible. Hey! I just had to put the spindles back because my cat really loves them and he wants to eat the yarn. The more the yarn smells like sheep, the more this one wants to eat it. He's not really eating it, he's more hunting it. And then he walks around with it in his I don't know the word for it. He's walking around with it really proud, like, oh, look at what I catched. Oh, you're a beauty. He has a lot of hair, as you can see. And there's coming a lot of hair of him now because the weather is changing. And I had it in my hands and I turned it and it was like, oh, it's really good fiber to spin with maybe, but I'm not going to do that. I would be okay with wearing a scarf out of my own cat's hair, but I think other people might think it's gross, so I'm not going to do that. But it was a fun idea. And he has enough hair to do it. But I'm not gonna. I'm just going to enjoy him like this. Do you want to say something to the people? No? Do you want to say something? Look, it's yourself. It's your face. It's your face. Look how beautiful you are. He's really sweet. So, enough of the craziness. I know this episode was a little bit all about. I forgot things to mention. I did finally later on, but the structure is a little bit gone. It can happen. I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye!